I wanted to get into retrograde that happened earlier this month. It was August 13th, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm looking at my calendar as we speak. Uranus went retrograde.
Uranus. I say Uranus.
I was actually recently on the TMI podcast talking about that, and one of the people on there pronounced it that way, and I laughed just because I get childish when I hear it pronounced that way. Do you pronounce it Uranus or you pronounce it Uranus?
I say Uranus.
You say Uranus? Yes, yeah, I say Uranus because I'm just like... And for our listeners, Uranus is a generational planet. So its energy, it takes a while for us to feel it, but also it takes a while for it to do its thing, is what I like to say. Vondechii, what do you think might be happening during this retrograde? It's in Taurus. So Uranus is in Taurus right now.
It's a comfortable and grounded earth sign. So this means that those with lots of Taurus placements in the charts will be most affected by the Uranus retrograde. It's going to be bringing innovation. It's going to be bringing unexpected change because Tauruses, they like predictability. Tauruses are very loyal. They're very, I don't want to say old school, but for example, if there were to be a blueprint made, I believe that Taurus would create a blueprint for anything. If it's in regard to music or in regards to arts and crafts, they're very good with brainstorming and collaboration. However, with the retrograde in Taurus, it's going to bring, again, innovation, but unexpected change. It's going to be bringing liberation on a collective level. There's going to be a huge shift in sex lives as well. And this is also because, you know, the temperatures are changing. Summer is almost over, and usually like in the fall, that's the time to, I don't want to say cuffing season because that's so cliche, but
I was about to say cuffing season. I'm about to sing that.
But you know, it's the time where I don't want to say love will be in the air because I don't feel like it's a love thing. I think it's more of a lustful thing. I feel like there's gonna be a shift in people's sex lives for the good. Also, I do believe that financially speaking, because Tauruses are earth signs and they're very, very reliable. They're very
stable.
Yes. So a lot of debts, financial debts, will be settled. However, you could get into some tricky financial situations if you're not careful. For example, right now will be the perfect time to start thinking about Thanksgiving, start thinking about the holidays, start thinking about what you want to do for the end of the year and start planning for that. Because if you start doing that now, again, your debts may be settled. And not to say that it won't be settled, you know, once the Uranus is out of retrograde in Taurus. No, not saying that. It's the perfect time to start because the stars are aligned in your favor. You have the universe behind you. So I would say start budgeting, start coming up with a log for yourself and face your fears and be comfortable with acknowledging your fears. There's a difference between acknowledging your fears and facing your fears. Be comfortable with acknowledging what your fears are. And this is the time to face your fears because a lot of difficult changes are coming. We think that this year is difficult, wait until the next one. And not to be gloomy, but again, this is the optimal time to start planning. This is the optimal time to start settling your debts, start acknowledging the things that are hindering you, start acknowledging the people that are around you for collaborations in the future, because again, right now is a perfect time to just be organized with it, I guess. Because again, with the previous session that we had, the new moon in Leo, again, yes, that was an optimal time to collaborate, but right now it's the time to collaborate with people in regards to finances. So let's say you're a student and you have student debt. Right now it's a good time for you to talk to a financial advisor, go to the bank and maybe start a savings account, things of that nature. Right now it's a pivotal moment to look towards the future, I guess, because Tauruses, they always plan 3 steps ahead. If there's a retrograde in Taurus, that's going to bring a challenge. You know, it's going to be challenging for you to plan and start being organized and compartmentalize certain things. So right now is the optimal time to do that, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that totally does. That totally does. I want to give my take on, which is kind of piggybacking on some of the things that you mentioned, but there was something that you mentioned that I think is a gem and I think it's gold. You mentioned that there's a difference between acknowledging your fears and facing your fears.
Yes.
Super curious as to what that difference is. I mean, I have a feeling I know what it is, but For our listeners, what is that difference?
I think that difference is emotional intelligence and maturity. Also, a level of wisdom, because you can be very smart and intellectual. However, if you're not wise, it's like, for example, I know that fire is hot. I know that fire is hot, but I'm wise enough not to put my hand in fire. Now, if you know that fire is hot, but you think with all of your intelligence, oh, you're not going to get burned if you put your hand there really quickly. You put your hand in the fire, you're going to get burned. But you thought with all of your intelligence, oh, I was going to put my hand out fast enough. No, like, you need to have that, like, with all the intellectual information that we have, we need to compart wisdom with that intellectualism. We settle, or we become complacent with, oh, I know I'm afraid of this. Oh, I know I'm not going to go in the water because I'm afraid of the water. Instead of being like, you know what, I know that I'm afraid of the water because I don't want to drown. So instead of going to the deep end, I'm going to stay in the shallow end and face my fears. Acknowledge it, be aware of my surroundings, be aware of what is shallow, what is not shallow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that example and how you put it. With Uranus in retrograde and in Taurus, definitely my first thought went to finances. And I was thinking about it actually from a more global perspective. I'm super curious to see like what happens like between countries when it comes to like financial trees, even trading. I think of the stock market as well, just because Uranus, as you had mentioned, you were saying there's unpredictability. And for our listeners, and Vondechii, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're referring to the fact that Uranus can be a very unpredictable energy.
Yes.
And combined with Taurus being a stable sign, it's a fixed sign.
Yes.
Like stability, it likes to plan because it likes to be in
control. Yes.
Control. Those two things together can be a very wacky kind of energy. And if you throw in the retrograde on top of that, that's just like extra witness. It's unpredictable. And for me, I was even thinking, besides like globally how we will be financially, I was even thinking about stuff like agriculture, because Taurus is the first earth sign. And in terms of resources, in terms of how we get our money, how we sustain ourselves, agriculture is the basis of pretty much a lot of things.
Like, you need water to have a civilization. If you have water, you need food. Yeah. So I was going to say that during that time, if you follow the stock market, because I watch Bloomberg a lot, you'll see a lot of stocks, like the prices are rising. For example, Amazon is doing great. Now, my thing is, we're still in a pandemic. Like, so the whole financial wonkiness, you could see it even if you really follow those patterns, like follow geopolitics, if you follow the stock market, if you look at financial field, like where we're at right now, United States of America, and our finances and the stocks and the bonds and things of that nature, you can even see it, like, believe that there's going to be a bubble. Because, for example, Amazon was like $1,700 in March, but now it's like $3,000 per share, and it's like, whoa, like that. Just like, if I would have invest money in Amazon during those few months back, right now I could have doubled my money. However, the whole election happening and things of that nature, and major conglomerates and companies being fearful because, with the whole politics and things of that nature, with Trump, things are not really regulated, and with Kamala and Joe, things might go back to being regulated appropriately again. So a lot of companies are shivering in their boots, in a sense, if I could say that. But it's a very wonky situation right now. It's very, again, with the whole retrograde, like it's like you would assume, okay, for example, gold a few months back was actually doing great. It was really good, and now the value of gold is going down. So I
love that you mentioned that, because I've been getting into stocks, and gold was one of the first things I thought of.
Yeah.
Because of Uranus and Taurus, I was like, you know what? And this was when it was direct. I was like, you know what? Uranus and Taurus always, usually means look at what's unexpected that normally would do well. Look at that. And for some reason, I thought of gold, and I started to invest in gold. And then I think it started going down, or wasn't doing as well as I thought it would do. And I was like, what the hell?
And it goes to the dollar either weakening or strengthening. I feel like once the dollar weakens, gold strengthens, because again, if the dollar like becomes weak, it's like how else can you trade? You know what I'm saying? So gold
Right, you
would
need
be,
that backup.
and it's just like, okay, but we're all in a recession, and you know, the whole government checks, instead of $600 now it's $400 that they're giving to people that are unemployed, and it's just like, okay, it seems like we have less money now. However, if you look at certain companies and how they're moving, it you think, oh, you know, don't invest my money in the stock market right now, but it's really a good time to do so. However, I don't want to say that it's a good time to do so now. I think it was a good time to do so, because now that things are changing, you know, the prices of because again, with that hurricane, it was hitting certain places that things that we consume are made in certain states, like Idaho, or I'm not really sure, so I don't want to say the wrong information. However, since that hurricane hit those certain states that produce so much agricultural crops for the rest of America, I feel like that's going to take a toll on the stock market, because again, let's say Idaho makes 75% of all the potatoes for all of, like, you know, like the US, but the hurricane hit them, those crops are done. So the price of potatoes are going to increase. So it's kind of like right now.
Scarcity or scarcity. I forgot how you pronounce that.
Right.
It's been so overwhelming with the news. There's just been so much going on. And, you know, with my own personal life, what I'm going through, I'm just like, you know what? I just need to kind of check out a little bit. But I didn't know that about the parts that have been affected by the hurricane that happened recently.
And do you know why? Wait, do you know why? Do you know why you don't know? Because when this hurricane hit, the news, there was no news coverage on this. There was no news coverage on the hurricanes that hit. Do you know how it actually... Yes. A girl, I think she's a Caucasian girl. She's probably in her teens. She can't be in her 20s. She cannot be more than 20 years old, I don't believe. She went on TikTok and she was like, and she really broke it down. And I was like sharing it. I think that TikTok video went viral, which is why people are now talking about that hurricane, but there was no news coverage about that hurricane at all whatsoever.
Wow. I didn't realize that. Like, I knew of the hurricane mainly because I was scheduled to do or to work a shift at an event. It was a drive-in, like a movie drive-in kind of thing. And of course, you know, because of the weather, they didn't want anyone to, you know, get into any kind of accident, just a safety thing. So I was told ahead of time that, you know, that event was canceled due to the hurricane. And I didn't even realize it was a hurricane. I was like, oh, it's like a little storm, whatever. It's going to rain. You know, we're up here in New York City, so we don't really get affected by hurricanes except for the residual effect. I didn't realize it was a hurricane until they said that. And I was like, oh, wow. Like that's pretty serious. And then now that you mentioned this, it dawns on me like, wow, that makes so much sense. The media didn't cover it, so a lot of people don't know about it.
But you know what it is? The fact that you're already having that inkling of, let me plan, let me figure it out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that planning thing. Because I feel like my mom is a Scorpio. She's a water sign. She loves planning. But I feel like if you're a Scorpio and because I'm a Sagittarius, but moon sign is a Scorpio, I feel like a lot of the times we achieve greatness and we plan for it, but it never goes. When we plan things, it never goes. Like the plan never.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. So it's so true. It makes me think about this podcast because literally when I first started, I was like, all right, I want this amount of episodes. This is how it's going to happen. And then it didn't happen that way. And you and I had a conversation where I think I told you, I was like, anytime I try to plan something, it doesn't happen the way that I want it to. So I'm just going with the flow.
But you see, like now that you're planning certain things, and it's like, not to say that planning is not in your nature, but sometimes you can just ad-lib and get it done. Like there's some people that you cannot write a paper or pencil. You just have to do it, and maybe you have to do it more than one time, but it's going to be done even better than it would have been if you would have planned for it. I feel like now that we're planning for things, like school is starting for me, I need to plan, like, you know, like just, oh God. Like, when am I going to graduate?
It's, you know, what I like to do, I mean, because I love to plan. Like, I have multiple planners, I've got calendars, I've got all that kind of stuff. But I was actually given a message. I hopped onto a live reading that someone was doing. And, you know, I was like trying to type like, can I get a card, whatever. So they finally like picked me out of the comments, and the message was one card. The message from Spirit was, "You're doing too much. Like you need to relax, and you need to just."
Isn't that so good when you hear that? Because usually, like, we're such troublemakers.
It was so good to hear it, but I won't even lie. There was a moment, just briefly, I felt resentful because I was like, Spirit, you know all that I'm going through. How could you tell me to not plan? How can you tell me to not do too much? I have to, but then I had to listen, and I was like, no, Tamar, you're doing too much. You're going to get burnt out, which was one of the pieces of advice they told me, which I've experienced a lot. So I was like, you know what, just chill out. So what I try to do now, actually, and I work on it, is I do like a guideline for my week. I'm like, okay, this is what I would like to accomplish.
You do?
If I can get some stuff done, it's great. If I don't get everything done, it's okay as well.
You're probably like the most organized Scorpio. You and my friend Brittany.
Yeah?
Shit. Like, for example, I know that Scorpios are very particular about things. Again, they're water signs. Like, it's not like they're fire signs and, like, just burn everything their way. Woo, like me. But it's kind of like you don't like anything dirty. You'll maybe have an organized mess in your room, but you know where everything is. You know where that paper clip is. You know where everything is. And if you wipe your finger on top of any surface, it's clean. It's just that maybe the books are not piled up, or maybe there's like a sweater on top of the chair. You know, it's not like disgusting or dirty. No, it might be a little bit messy. Actually,
but it's an organized mess.
It's comfortable.
Organized chaos.
Exactly. But
it's funny that you said that, because I'm literally looking in my room, because I've been meaning to clean.
Am I right or wrong?
What I need to do. And you are totally right, because I'm looking at one pile that I'm just like, she clocked me.
But it's not dirt. I feel like, if anything, they're very OCD. Like they don't like dirtiness, like very particular about your appearance. Not to say like, oh, like bouginess, no, like clean, like if there's a stain on a shirt, you might not. But again, I feel like it depends on what type of Scorpio a person is. You could be the artsy fartsy type of Scorpio, but even then, you're still particular about your things. Like, for example, I know that my mom, when I was younger, and my mom would be like, okay, you can't watch TV, you have to do your homework. But I would watch TV. And I'm like, how does she know that I'm watching TV? Like, is there a camera? No. She would put her hand behind the TV to check if it's hot. And then that's how she know how to watch TV. So very particular about their things, knows where everything is, and how to check if something is not the way it's supposed to be done. Does that make sense? So there's no way.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Growing up, my mom was a Sagittarius, actually. My mom and I were born 3 days apart. I'm November 20th. She's the 23rd.
Oh, my God.
And
was she awesome? Was she psycho like me?
It's so cool. Like, we were so similar in many ways. Like, there are times where, like, I'm saying something or I'm doing something. I'm like, oh, my God, you're just like Mom. That was something that Mom would do. But the way that she would raise me is, like,
fun.
I could not pile. And, like, I would have this, like, computer chair that I sometimes, like, if, I would come home from, like, school or something, I'd take my clothes and I would pile it on there. I wouldn't, like, put my clothes up. She was the kind of person where she was like, you cannot pile your clothes on there. You take your clothes and you put it away.
Yeah. You know why?
Like, there was always a process.
But let me tell you something. You were probably the adult in the relationship, and she just probably said you need to organize things, because Sagittarius don't really like to organize. We just think, like, we have to organize, because if we start not organizing, listen, everything's gonna go to shit. Like, it's gonna be unorganized. So she was probably like, oh yeah, you see what I mean? You were probably the one that had the knack for it. I feel like in any relationship with Sagittarius, the other person is always the adult.
You know what? It is so true. For me, growing up with my mom, emotionally, I had to be the adult.
Yes.
My mom and I had a very complicated relationship. I hold her very dear, but I can also recognize a lot of the trauma. And growing up, I definitely had a very I think that you call it is a parentified relationship, where the child is a lot like the parent. So especially emotionally, I had to grow up very fast. I remember at times being a 10, 11-year-old and being able to break down something my mom was going through psychologically and explain it to her.
You know why?
For her to understand. You said, do you know why?
Mm-hmm. Because as a Sag, because listen, me and my mom was a Scorpio, I'm a Sag, so you know she whipped my ass left and right. She put my ass in order. But I feel like Sagittarius, we're very harsh. So when we're joking around and we're like for example, my mom would be like if somebody, like, you know, like if, I'm trying to see an appropriate example that I could say out into the world, because there's a lot that's inappropriate.
Of course, yeah, whatever you feel comfortable with, and yes, of course.
Like she'll, like, it's like, for example, if you were to raise your voice at your parent, which I never did, but like if you were, instead of her being like, who do you think you're talking to? It'll be like, oh, so you have pubes and you think you're an adult now? It's like a violation type of thing. Like you could, and you're just like, you could just say, don't raise your, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh my God.
Right, you have to say it that way. You could have said it in a much more eloquent way.
You're hurting people's feelings, Mom. So that's a Scorpio, but a Sag would be like, oh, so you want to raise your voice? Okay. All right. And like give her the silent treatment and just like, because we don't hold grudges, but if we feel like we've been wronged, we go hard. And it's sometimes like, whoa, be mature. Like, don't take it personally. We take a lot of things personally. So, you know, like it's just, I feel like with the relationship, yeah, it was a little bit maybe complicated. However, I feel like if a Sag is the mom and the kid is a Scorpio, most definitely the kid had to grow up a little bit faster because there were harsher words said to that kid in the household. But it's out of love. It was never with a malicious intent, but it was still heard. And remember, Scorpios, you would assume that they're strong, and they are, but they're still water signs. They're sweet baby droplets of water. Like, they're sensitive, you know?
We feel deeply. Scorpios, oh my God. And you can relate as a Scorpio moon. Yeah. We feel things profoundly. Yeah. Like, a lot of times people don't realize how deep I can feel something because I have resting bitch face.
Yes.
Thank you to my Scorpio rising, because I'm a Scorpio sun and a rising.
Yeah.
So you can hurt my feelings and you won't even see it at the moment. But when behind closed doors, totally different story.
Yes.
Totally different story. But I wanted to move into, I want to talk about the earth chakras, but I kind of want to wait.
It's up to you, because I feel like we
our next episode. And is that like a brief thing we could talk about? Because I really wanted to talk about the different kind of witches.
Girl, we are talking about financials.
That I think
we're talking about.
But, you know, I did mention that I was curious about the whole earth chakra. So I don't know if that's something we can discuss really briefly. Yeah.
Girl, we are talking about everything right now. And I feel like this is good because sometimes you do need structure in our podcast. But sometimes the viewers just want to listen to information, but like in a conversation type of manner, because I feel like we're teaching the viewers about financial literacy, astrology.
Yeah, no, we are everywhere, and I'm working on a way to figure out like structurally, because with Anchor, what's really cool about the way that we're working is I think we're learning as we go, and we're getting better at it.
And I like to have like these moments in front of our readers, because a lot of the time people are so meticulous and they're like, we shouldn't have the readers see us being unorganized and things of that nature. And I feel like it makes it more authentic. It makes it more real. Like, you know, so if somebody aspires to do their own podcast, like they see the process of fucking collaborating with somebody else and like all the shit that can go right and wrong.
I love that you said that, because sometimes like I don't know if this is, I have to probably figure this out, like where this comes from, but I sometimes like to see the messiness of something, the chaos. So I like learn from that.
Yeah.
You know, like seeing other people process.
Remember what I said earlier about
organized chaos?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm that kind of person where it's like, I like to see the messiness. That way I can like see how they got better, and like, well, you know, maybe I have my own suggestions or whatever. But we're going to, just for the listeners to know this though, Vondechii has a video about the different kinds of brujas.
Yes.
We definitely want to get into that way more in a different episode, but go check out her page. You have it on both of your pages, right? At Vondechii and at Vondechii's Vault, right?
Mm-hmm. And if they want more information, they can go to my website, vondechii.com. All my videos are there. all my blogs, all the things that I sell, all my witchy products and my inexpensive household goods, including there's actually a forum on my website too. So if you are a business, if you own a business or run a business, or you have a line of products and services that you're providing for others, you can definitely advertise on my forum for free and subscribe to become a member for free. So
boom, guys, check her out on her website. Check her out on her Instagram handles as well. On the Bruja Podcast's IG page, there's a Linktree link where her Instagram handles are also linked as well there. So I want you guys to go check out that video for those of you that are curious about the different kinds of brujas, but we're definitely going to get into that more in a different episode. And I'm also going to bookmark that we definitely do want to talk about the earth chakras because I'm super curious about that. Now, guys, check out her website, check out her Instagram handles for that video specifically, because for those of you that are curious about what kind of bruja you might be or the different kind of brujas that there are, she breaks it down. What you have like 12 or 13 examples?
Yeah.
How many?
13.
13 examples, guys. 13 examples. So go check that out and definitely stay tuned for the next episode of the Bruja Podcast. And that's all we have for now. We will talk to you later, guys.
Thank you so much
for
listening. Bye.